Now that we've feasted on our raviolis that have been handmade from a recipe passed down for generations from family to family, let's step back in time to the immigration of Italians to the South Bay and see how their history has shaped our present. As we continue to explore the Italian connection in Willow Glen, we have the opportunity to speak with Ken Borelli, who is president of the Italian American Heritage Foundation. Ken, welcome.
And welcome to you, Kevin, and welcome to you and your viewers to the Italian American Heritage Foundation at 425 North 4th Street here in San Jose.
Ken, we're here talking about the history of the Italians in the Willow Glen and San Jose area. So let's go back to the immigration. Tell me a little bit about that.
Italian immigrants started migrating to the Santa Clara Valley probably around the 1880s, 1890s. It kind of paralleled what they called the Great Migration to the United States from people from Southern Europe and Eastern Europe. But most of those immigrants stayed in the eastern seaboard, which makes San Jose and parts of the West Coast very unique, because the immigrants who came to California really paralleled the lives they led in this case, Italy. So that there's a term for country people, it's called contadini. The contadini were agricultural people. So when they got to San Jose, this was like finding paradise, because this was a little bit of Italy, but much richer in terms of soil, climate, and production. So they really took to it.
Now, most of those Italians congregated into three separate sections. Why is that?
Well, you did your homework. You stole my line, too. But anyways, it's normal for new immigrant communities to congregate in certain areas because of language, because of foods and customs. And that's very true. The first area that Italians immigrated to and stayed in the San Jose area was really in the downtown area. And they developed kind of a nucleus. And from there, they moved and migrated into three actually separate parts of San Jose. The first part would be around the area known as amorphously as Goosetown. And when I did a lot of work on trying to develop this program that we're going to be showing at the Willow Glen Library, is I had to get the boundaries of Goosetown intact. And they're roughly from Azare, North 1st Street to the Guadalupe Creek to Alma. And that borders, of course, Willow Glen. And so you have that play there. The other areas that the Italians migrated to was around the North 13th Street area, where Holy Cross Church is. And actually, in that region today, they still celebrate Mass in Italian in one of the Mass at the church. So you had those two areas. Then you had the people that were out in the farms, and the farms were Meridian Avenue, Blossom Hill, Alum Rock. All of those orchardists, primarily orchardists and truck farmers, lived in those outlying areas and then would come into the downtown area for commercial reasons also. It was kind of a very rich history.
Where did Goosetown get its name?
A lot of the geographical terrain of both Goosetown and Willow Glen were really creeks, and it was ideal for farming. You had a lot of water, you had rich soil, and it was also a migratory pattern for flocks of geese, hence the ponds. And it's hard to believe that there were ponds in Willow Glen and in that part of San Jose because it's so urban now. And so it became a settlement area. So that was Goosetown, is where the migratory patterns were.
The Italians had a huge influence in Willow Glen, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think that kind of ties into a couple of things. Number one is, as I talked about, the immigration patterns, and number two, the identity and loyalty to the old Willow Glen, the farming communities, the canneries, the old garden theater. I think Lincoln Avenue and Willow Glen per se was really an urban village that really serviced the agricultural needs of Meridian Avenue and Blossom Hill. People would shop in Willow Glen and then maybe go into San Jose for the big things. So you have that kind of identity. And thinking about it, there's two levels of nostalgia for Italian Americans. One level is where their families came from Italy, and that's a lot about the heritage, and there are actually even lodges that focus on that heritage. But then there's the other part, and that is growing up in old San Jose. And it's hard for me even to imagine that this was such a rural paradise called the Valley of Heart's Delight. But that feeling and that sense of loyalty is very powerful in San Jose today.
Are some of the old Italian families still in Willow Glen?
I think that loyalty prevails. Not only are they in Willow Glen, but they are big supporters of their old parishes.
Ken, we thank you very much for spending some time with us here at Willow Glen in Motion and sharing the Italian history with us. Thank you.
Thank you.